Okay, so we're in the garden here. We're doing a lot better than we were. You can see the beans are growing along and the chard is getting big. We have some bugs, so we're going to have to do some spraying with some soap and water solution. The beets are coming up nice. The carrots are doing well. Everybody's well weeded. The potatoes are a little bit sad. We haven't had any proper rain. I've been watering, but you just can't replace the good Lord's rain. The mammoth beets are doing well. See how large they're getting already? We're fertilizing every week so we can see if they can get as big as they will. We're not going to get the 40 pounds, but we're going to go as close as we can. So everything's doing pretty well in the garden. But as far as like the homestead and how it's doing financially, we're having a rough one. Uh, it's just hard right now. Things aren't moving and animals aren't selling and things like that. So we've been kind of trying to go along and be patient in the trial and whatever. But it's hard. So you have to remember what the Lord is trying to teach you. Whenever you're hitting up against an adversity of some kind and a hard time of some kind, the first thing you need to know is the Lord is trying to get you to turn to Him, to get your attention. So turn your attention to the Lord as soon as adversity hits you and hard times hit you. And then another thing He could be trying to do with the adversity He sent into your life is to get rid of pride. In homesteading, there is a horrible amount of pride. People get to thinking I'm doing it on my own and this is wonderful. And it is wonderful to be able to do stuff, garden and grow things and whatever. But you have to remember that pride is not a good thing. In this world, unfortunately, people are celebrating pride of all kinds. And pride and accomplishment and who you are and things like that is not cool. The Lord doesn't like pride. Pride is not good. We knew that, but people don't seem to know that anymore. So don't be proud. If you're homesteading, try to be humble, because you're not doing it on your own. The Lord's helping you. Even if you don't even believe in Him, He's helping you. Another reason that we've found that the Lord will send trouble to you is to remind us of the fact we can't do it ourselves. That I can't do this on my own. I can't make it grow. I've learned that over a lot of hard times and a lot of hard work, and sometimes hard work and even really good knowledge, it isn't enough to make this stuff go. I don't like with the potatoes. I don't know why some of them are keeling over, but they are. The ones the Lord planted are doing good. But the ones that I planted, some of them are just, I know I have some potato bugs going on, but it's just, I can't make it happen. I'm doing the best I can, and that's all you can do. And I'm watering every day, but sometimes it's just not enough. And knowing you can't do it yourself is one of the keys to not being so frustrated when you're trying to homestead. Another reason that the Lord will sometimes send adversity to us is to get sin out of your life. Maybe you've got something going on you shouldn't be doing, and so, like pride. And of course, there's infinite numbers of sin that are offensive to the Lord, and reasons that He'll try to get us to get our attention and stop doing that thing. Greed and idolatry for money and, things like that. There's lots of reasons. And another reason that's a pretty obvious one to me is that He's trying to demonstrate that He will provide, that He'll be faithful. He's your security, your safety. He's who we need to turn to in our time of need. It's just like when we first started having bear problems. I thought I was going to keep me and my sister safe, and I carry bear mace now, and but then it's not 100%. You want to watch some YouTube videos with people using bear mace, and it doesn't always work. So it's the Lord that keeps you safe and secure. It's like the other day I stepped out we were sitting at 1 o'clock in the morning and getting ready for bed, and I thought I heard a car door, and then my sister thought she heard scratching, and so I opened the door, and there was a 250-pound black bear 10 feet off the porch. Ran right past. So, there's no way that I could have protected against that. you have those moments of, shock where you can't move. Uh, yeah, I wasn't surprised. I wasn't expecting that right that exact minute. So, yeah, it's the Lord that does all these things and providing. And Trig, can you not interrupt with hacking and coughing on the video? You're rude. And so the thing that I was kind of reminding myself of today is how we should respond to things going wrong. Like right now, it's easy to get mad at each other and fuss and fight and blame each other for what's going on, and it's easy to blame God and get mad at Him. But instead of doing all that, what we're really supposed to do is don't waste the hard times you're having. Learn what you can from it, because it's vital that you do that, so that you can grow from that. Make sure you understand that this hard times came from God. It's not always like a punishment or whatever, but it can be a discipline, just like, with a child. Doing chores isn't a punishment all the time, but it is a discipline. It teaches you to be disciplined. Also, when you're going through hard times, what I've learned to do is to ask, what can I learn from this, Lord? And try to learn, be open to learn all you can, because if you waste it, you might have to go through it again. And if you learn from it next time you go through it, because most things come up again, then you'll go through it better next time. And another thing that we have to keep in mind when we're going through adversity is what we're supposed to be getting out of it is to give over your will to whatever God wants to do. Because it's going to be good for us in the end. When we're saved, He does all things for our good. In Romans 8:28, people love to quote that, but you got to read all of it, where it says, "All things work together for the good of those who love God, who are called according to His purpose." Okay, it's not just all things work together for good, for those who love God and are called according to His purpose. So you need to make sure that you're saved, or all things are not necessarily working for your good. And that was kind of an epitome for me when I realized that. It doesn't always come out. It's kind of like, you're not responsible for the neighbor's kids. You're not responsible to make sure that they eat a sandwich for lunch. That's their parents' job. So the Lord's looking out for His own. And then also, you just need to rest in God's faithfulness, even if we don't understand what He's doing. His thoughts are higher than our thoughts. We don't understand, just like our animals don't understand what we're doing half the time. They don't get it, why they can't do what they want, and why they can't go where they want and have what they want all the time. We don't understand either. But realize that if you'll let it, hard times will bring you to a greater maturity, and that's oftentimes what the Lord is trying to do, is bring you into a maturity in that area in your life. So if we have to go through financial hard times, to learn a few things about going through financial hard times, it could be worth being prepared for harder financial times. And we've seen harder times, we're seeing now, but we've done okay the last little while, but just all of a sudden we're in a little bit of a bump right now, and we're trying to scrape together. And it's not just us. You look online, and a lot of the different farmers we know are going through a hard time and not making ends meet right now. And it happens when you're farming. There's seasons of good and seasons of bad. And right now, even though everything's growing well, and that's great, we're just going through a rough season. Look at all these bees, though. Aren't they busy? This is actually kind of interesting, this plant here. Year over year, this is a volunteer plant. And I let them grow because, I like volunteer plants. The Lord planted it for whatever reason, and it's edible. What it is, though, years, not even in this garden, but years and years ago, I planted collard greens and I planted turnips. And because they're related, they mixed. So I call them turnip collards. And every year the garden site that this was in was way over there. But somehow it got over here. And every year, these plants come up in the garden in unexpected places. Right now, they're in my mammoth mango beets. And they bloom and they put off some seeds, and then they come up again the next year. So the kind of cool thing is about the volunteer plants is, A, they do really, really good. Just like potatoes, they look beautiful. And mine are waning. Yeah, they always do much better than the plants I planted. Just like this year's Swiss chard. Didn't make it, the one I planted, but the one the Lord planted from, a couple years before made it just fine. I was able to transfer those over to my chard patch. There's a potato in there. I just can't seem to pull out the volunteers. But these volunteers here, those are potatoes. These are right in my aisle next to my beans. And unfortunately, they're kind of flowing over onto my carrots and onto the beans, and they're shading it, and that makes it so it won't grow as good. So as they flower, once they flower, that's as many potatoes as you're going to get, but they're not as big as they're going to get. But once they flower, I'm going to start kind of targeting them to dig some potatoes out of there and slowly remove them, because they can't be there when I go to pick my beans. So we're going to have to get rid of them, even though I don't like to. But yeah, this has been the garden update in a moment of clarity as regards adversity. Hope it helps anyone. I know it's hard times sometimes, and part of the reason we go through them is to help others when they go through them. Stay tuned.